If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox is on Hulu. In 2007, Amanda Knox was studying abroad in Italy. She had no idea her dream would turn into a nightmare. Inspired by the actual events of her wrongful conviction and 15-year fight for freedom, watch the new Hulu original series, The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. Now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
Like all media, when you get good press or they're on your side, you defend it, it's the best. The second they screw with you, it's like, ah! So I used to see Ben, in Aspen. I was like, this fucking guy doesn't know anything. What is it, but they were controlling the narrative.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. Drew Nieporent is the guy behind legendary New York City restaurants Montrachet, Tribeca Grill, Nobu, and nearly 40 more. And he joins me in the studio today for an amazing conversation. He's written a memoir, I'm Not Trying to Be Difficult, Stories from the Restaurant Trenches, and it's one of my favorite restaurant books in recent years. In our conversation, we cover a lot of ground. Opening in Tribeca in the early 80s, collaborating with Robert De Niro on multiple restaurants, and why Keith McNally isn't the only New York City restaurant man with a good story to tell. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Drew Nieporent, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you.
It's so fun having you here. I absolutely devoured your memoir. I think it is a must-read for anyone who listens to the show and is in the industry. Read the book.
Well, I appreciate that. I know you're friendly with Jamie Feldbar.
Absolutely.
Who really wrote the book with me, and she's wonderful. So it was a great process. I had a terrific time doing it.
I love that you call it Jamie right away. I think it's important to call it collaborators. They're the ones who are bringing your story to life. And
100%.
Quite the story. Before we get into your history, we'll talk about Nobu, we'll talk about Tribeca Grill, we'll talk about so many other restaurants. Where are you dining these days? I love reading this book, and you are obviously such a restaurant fan, first and foremost. You're in the business, but you are a fan of restaurants. Where are you dining?
Well, I recently had an absolutely delicious dinner at Ada because Chintan, Ronnie, those guys, they're obviously, the world is their oyster right now with Sema and Damaka. But Ada was terrific. And the chef, Neil, worked for at 11 Madison. And it shows. I mean, everything was so terrific. And the place is comfortable. But the last 90 days, I've lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the Zepbound.
Oh, cool.
And so for me, I've gained...
the GLP-1?
Yes.
Interesting.
But it's the good one. No, it's like all over Instagram how they promote this thing. But anyway, so I'm obsessed with food. I mean, I wake up, what am I going to have for breakfast? Am I going to go for soup dumplings today? Am I going to go to... Mariscos El Submarino for, Aguachile or whatever. So that's the way I plot out my life. But for the last 90 days, I'm basically being very careful. So no potato, no rice, no bread,
Yeah.
And it's working. So, and I feel good. So
yeah, wonderful to hear you're feeling good. I think you write about health struggles along the way and very candidly about weight. And I think it's nice to know you're in good health.
Yeah. And I used to joke that I gained 50 pounds for every restaurant that I opened, but then I'd be 800 pounds.
But do you sweat out the weight once you get the first P&Ls and you start to actually see the economics?
Listen, and I mean this sincerely, and I think I touch on it in the book. You might have even mentioned it. I don't care when I open a restaurant about making money.
Yeah.
Because I've been fortunate that my MO is basically you build it and you run it correctly with good food and good service, obviously. And if it doesn't make money, something's wrong. So I'm never obsessed about money. And then I've even said to chefs, I said, just even if it breaks even, I just don't like losing money, because when you lose money, then you got to reach in your pocket. Yeah. So, but thank goodness I've had a career with no bankruptcy.
I mean, it's amazing that you've had 40 restaurants, and each are individual projects. You don't scale. You think of each restaurant as its own being, its own child, and that's rare, right? Especially somebody who's been doing it for so long. You don't take the easy check. You kind of take the hard way, right? That's like part of your approach.
Well, I think when I was coming up, and I worked for a lot of places. When I graduated Cornell Hotel School, I went to Tavern on the Green and Maxwell's Plum, which was a great education. Yeah. But and then I worked in French restaurants. But the reality is that Montrachet, it grew out of my experiences, which were I'm working in Le Périgord, La Grenouille, La Région,
all the Luz and Las as you refer to,
and Daniel Valoude and everything. And I'm watching all this, and I said, I'm going to do this better. I'm going to do it cheaper. I'm going to figure it out. And I met David Bouley. Yeah. I had just run the New York Marathon in 1983, and my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but we went to San Francisco. It was a whirlwind trip.
Amazing trip. You cover it in the book, and I'm like, damn, that is
everywhere.
Great
Michael
job.
McCarty and Spago. But the last day we're in San Francisco, and we're supposed to have lunch at a place called Sutter 500. And it was set up by a friend of mine who was a captain at La Grenouille. Anyway, I was jogging, and I didn't realize San Francisco has these hills, So I'm at the Golden Gate Bridge, and this is before cell phones. Yeah. And I guess I got to a payphone. I called my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and I go, listen, we have 2 dinner reservations. So this place we're going for lunch, we got to go easy. We get there, Bouley comes out, and he says, I prepared a meal for you. And I'm going, oh, my God. It's like... But it proceeded to be like one of the most magnificent luncheons I've ever had. I got back to New York. I called him up. He was motivated to come back. We opened in April of 1985. Yeah.
Up on West Broadway in Tribeca.
Right. And I have a 3-course menu. $16. Yep. And, the first night we did 37 covers. The next night we did 18, and I was like, oh, my God. We're in the middle of no place. And 7 weeks after we opened, Brian Miller gave us 3 stars in the New York Times. Yeah. It was like I could have filled a stadium.
Let's go back to Bouley, that first meal. What's the cuisine that really attracts you to him before he is David Bouley? I mean, is it French Nouvelle? Is it New American?
No,
what is, like,
it
how
almost
do you describe it?
It almost defies like putting him in a box, because first of all, we eat with our eyes. When you look at food, and like, wow. That's the first thing. And his food was a wow thing. The second of all, the guy had tremendous experience. He had worked with Roger Verger and Joël Robuchon and Paul Bocuse, and I believe also La Copasse, but for like 2 seconds. And even Le Cirque.
So he was in New York a little bit before San Francisco.
Yeah. And he was a weird guy. I'm sorry. He was just like, I have a son who has autism. So if you're around autism, you understand there's an excellence to these people. But on a different, and there's so many different areas.
I interviewed Bouley one time, and I swear 60 minutes, I could not get a question. And I'm pretty good at this, and it was truly impossible without literally saying, David, you need to stop. Yeah, he's an interesting character.
Well, I knew I was in trouble when I asked him for a menu. Yeah. And I couldn't get a menu. And then finally he gave me a menu, and there was a lot of, misspellings and, weird stuff. But anyway, the point was, it looked good, it tasted good, but some of it was literally exactly Joël Robuchon's, like lobster salad, or, a little bit
beyond homage.
Yes.
It's like a little copycat.
So I didn't like that part of it. But, when we opened with $16, I always felt if you kept the price so low, who's going to complain?
Well, here's an interesting question, I think. So you are not really a chef, though you are trained at Cornell, you worked some jobs, but this is really the art of what you do. You are a tastemaker. You can recognize the menu that Bouley is doing in San Francisco has a lot of highs and a lot of lows and some copycats. This is an intangible skill. You are a chef, but you're also more than that. You have to think like a chef, correct?
Here's the advantage I have. Having grown up exposed to the greatest restaurants in the 60s because my father worked for the State Liquor Authority.
Yeah.
And he in the book, it only comes out in a couple of places. But we went to dozens of great restaurants of all different ethnicities.
Yeah.
Like Bellato's, which is like the hot ticket now.
Yeah.
We would park our car on Houston Street and hope that it would be there when we got it.
Yeah.
And Johnny Bellato, I mean, there were 9 tables in the place.
Yeah.
He would cook in the day and serve at night. He served us.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's a humble guy. Today, when you see what's going on, it's like nuts.
It's amazing.
But I had that
I
exposure.
love that restaurant, by the way.
Amazing. Yeah. But I had that exposure. And I knew very early on, I'm not going to blow this. I'm not going to do, you know, I'm not going to be a doctor or, you know, I'm going to do food. So it was always I was going to go to cooking school and be a chef. And it comes out in the book. I tell the story, but the point is, there's a moment in time where you're in the front of the house, whether you're serving or, because I worked on a cruise ship, you know, with 600 people.
But it wasn't any cruise ship. It was like
It's a first class,
formal European style.
Oh, beautiful.
Like you had to learn this style of service and this cuisine that wasn't really being served in America outside of rarefied spaces.
No, not
so it wasn't just a typical cruise ship. You were getting your lessons in this special place.
For me, life every day is a lesson.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
But I decided early on I have to choose between the front of the house and the back of the house. And I taught cooking at Cornell as a TA, a teaching assistant. And I really do cook well, but I'm like, you know, once I made the decision. So now I see it as like a director and an actor.
Yeah.
Like if you're a director, you're going to work with the actors, and if you're going to let them improvise, or, you know, and basically that's what I do. I just say, listen, you know, do anything you want, but I just want you to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, like if I say this is too salty, or, you know, because I've watched other restaurateurs put their hands in food and push people's plate and push the food on people's plate, and I'm mortified.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand, I think anyway, the relationship that somebody in my position, whether it's an owner or manager, should have with the back of the house.
Well, you're extremely hands off with many of your chefs, as you write, especially Paul Liebrandt at Corton.
Right.
I mean, and many other examples. It seems like you just have to hire well, and you set up this kind of philosophy where you're deeply research your restaurants before you open.
That's right. That is correct. Well, Paul Liebrandt was, you know, in one way he was the easiest guy because he got so effed when he opened Guilt.
Yeah.
You know, I love Frank Bruni today because, you know, here's a guy who wrote a book about George Bush, and now you know, if you read his stuff about Trump, it's amazing. But Bruni was diabolical in his restaurant reviewing because he used always these different names, and you can never catch him. But he totally hosed Liebrandt at Guilt. So when I met Paul, you know, it's simply a case of you know, if we can get along, if he can respect me, I certainly respect his talent. So that was pretty much a no-brainer. But guess what? So did you see the movie, by the way? Because they made a movie about it.
I recall the movie because you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in the movie. It's great. I mean, the movie it won a James Beard Award.
I was sympathetic to Paul Liebrandt, and I feel like I'd like to have him in the studio and talk to him about this crazy career of his. Yeah, he really did take some L's.
Oh, you know, even to this moment. But the bottom line is, we got everything. We got everything. We got 3 stars from Frank Bruni. We got 2 Michelin stars. And then one day he comes to me and says, you know, I want to do what 11 Madison Park is doing. I said, well, we don't
really.
We don't aspire to. I
didn't at the West Broadway location.
Yeah, no, I didn't aspire to.
Yeah, that's a little different ball game there.
Right. And then he goes, no, I'm going to save you money. You know, labor and everything. So we go to a prefix, but he was severe. Like he didn't want. It was right at the beginning of Instagram, and he didn't want people taking pictures of his food.
Yeah, that was a bad choice.
Stupid.
Obviously.
But we had everything except covers. Like people stopped coming because, you know, the waits between courses were interminable, and.
So you went from tasting to prefix, and you made
the second we went from a la carte, we were prefix.
Yeah,
but we were with a choice.
I see.
Which is what Batard became, and got 3 stars also. But the point is, people want that choice. When I was a kid, I was going to restaurants. The menus were like the Cheesecake Factory. You know, they had a million choices.
Yeah.
But when people feel, look, I love Aska. Like before you asked me, I went. Aska had a 3-star chef from Norway recently, and Freddie he used to work at Corton under Paul.
Yeah.
And what he's doing is fantastic. But it's like $500 a person.
Yeah, I know. I want to, we've been jumping around in the best way, but I want to actually go back to Tribeca in 1985.
Okay.
And opening on West Broadway and like give us a sense of the neighborhood when you open there, because it's kind of understated in your career or underreported that you really did make Tribeca. I mean, well, I feel like that should be said.
Well, I honestly feel, obviously, Odeon, which is still there, really made Tribeca. It gave me the courage. The other thing that gave me the courage was Chanterelle, which was a couple blocks north in Soho on Green and Grand.
Yeah, I think of that more Soho. But...
Yeah, exactly. But that gave me the courage.
Got it.
So when I signed the lease, it was originally just one space. And then there was a woodworking shop appendage to the space. And when they didn't renew their lease, I took the larger space. Mm-hmm. But look, I grew up in New York.
Yeah, Stuytown.
Well, Peter Cooper
okay.
and Stuyvesant Town were right next to each other. Oh, my brother got upset with me today.
Fair.
Because he said, I shared a room with you. It wasn't Stuyvesant. But he lived in Stuyvesant Town.
Okay.
And then my uncle lived in Stuyvesant Town. But Peter Cooper we had air conditioning. Mm-hmm. So we were the blessed. But Tribeca, where we were, like I found it one day by jogging because I was training for the New York Marathon. Huh. And I found it. And I mean, it was you couldn't, to this day, like Robin Williams, is lost and he calls me on the phone. It's like, where's this place? And he's screaming at me. And I'm like, I literally had to leave the restaurant and pull him in.
The streets are probably like uneven down there at that point.
Well, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I mean, look, at one point, I had 6 restaurants in Tribeca.
I know.
And that was brilliant because I could go around to all of them. But look, it was audacious, but it was $1,500 for 1,500 square feet. It was $12 a foot.
Yeah.
Today it's what, $200 a foot, $150 a foot.
It's above inflation. That increase. Right. Real estate's different.
And look, with Boulé, the second we got the 3 stars, it was April. The review came out in June. We opened in April. And then the air conditioner, we realized wasn't going to be great for the summer.
Yeah.
We had people complaining about that. We had 1 million people, but I showed so much restraint. I didn't overbook.
Yeah.
I didn't put people at the bar. Today, they put stools at the bar and, walk-ins could be at the bar. We didn't even think about that kind of thing. I was just
That's
really
Danny Meyer a few years later. He's the guy doing that, to be honest.
Listen, I love Danny Meyer. In fact, he writes a blurb for my book. And we've been friends for a long time. And I have this vivid image. He and Ali Barker, who was the chef at Union Square at the time, they come to Morrichet. They're sitting in a corner table, and they're like this. They're looking around, and I'm watching them. And they're thinking, how the fuck did this place get 3 stars?
Yeah.
But, Danny Meyer, to his credit, he was like Andre Soltner. It's always like, and then the second when he opened Tabla and 11 Madison, like the dam burst, and so God bless him. He's like, I saw Forbes said our newest billionaire, and then my wife wanted a divorce. But anyway,
he's funny. We just ran a great episode with Danny where he talks about the 40 years of Union Square Cafe. We talk about health a lot on the show. Protein maxing is all the rage. We're on the NA beer train, of course. And probiotic sodas, some call those millennial Metamucil. But I want to talk about skin health for a second. Everybody should be thinking about skin health. It's important, and I look to OneSkin, the world's first skin longevity company, for a little help. Now, I've used OneSkin's OS1 hydrating sunscreen for walking around New York City in the blazing sun. I wish I had OneSkin on a recent 7 Pizzeria pizza crawl. Now, it wasn't just the roof of my mouth that got burned that day. And for the record, FNF and Upside are my NYC slice picks. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using promo code TASTEPOD at oneskin.co. That's 15% off using code TASTEPOD.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, With services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
Okay, so you mentioned critics, and I want to take this opportunity to talk about this because I think the critics have a bit of a role in the memoir, and I love it. I think you really embody that restaurant guy, that restaurant man who is so aware of media that you maybe get in your own way sometimes with the media.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I have known each other since 2007, and you've been great with me. I've never been a critic, though, in New York, or at least a major critic. How do you describe your relationship with the media?
Well, I think the most important thing is, if you're not a jerk, you're going to spend time and you're going to read what they write.
Yeah.
When you read what they write, then you understand it. Like Mimi Sheridan, I mean, she was brutal, but I read everything, and it was to the point where every review that ever had a restaurant ever had shrimp. Every shrimp had iodine in it. So guess what? I opened a restaurant. I said to the chef, I said, no shrimp allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. She didn't like the idea of the waiters at the time. They used to have the baseball bat pepper mills.
Oh, yeah.
They'd come to the table. Would you like pepper? And I had one friend who was friendly with Mimi, and he go to the waiter when they did that. He said, how do I know? I didn't even taste it. How do I know it needs pepper? So no pepper mills. And so you read the critics and you play into, obviously, if they've complained about it, don't do that. The waiters are idiots sometimes.
Yeah.
Please enjoy. If you watch Iron Chef, Bon Appetit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all this cliche bullshit.
Yeah.
So
We're a cursing show, by the way.
okay,
You can just let it rip on me.
I can rip with the best of them. But the point, I guess, is that so you read about them. So like Brian Miller just started. Where did he get his background? In one place in Connecticut.
Yeah.
French restaurant. So he was like a sports writer in Kansas City. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
So, but he was always with Pierre Fernet. And I worked at La Grenouille.
Yeah.
And so one day, they called me up because I was building more machine. They said, hey, Brian Miller was in. I said, how did you know it was Brian Miller? And they go, well, he came in with Pierre Fernet. I said, where did you seat him? Because in the French restaurants at those time, it was like where you sat before where you ate.
Yeah.
And it was like the worst table in the place.
Yeah, they didn't reckon it. They didn't clock him.
Yeah, but believe it or not, I brought my tuxedo to the construction site of Morrichet, and I said, what was the name of the reservation? And they said, he made it under Benson. I said, if you ever get Benson again, call me up. Sure enough, like 2 weeks later, we have Benson. I get in the E train, which was right on the corner.
Yeah.
Goes right to 52nd Street, right where La Grenouille is. I get out. I go in. They're looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I see him on the banquette. And then when he leaves, I had this little camera, and I followed him all the way to the New York Times, which is 52nd to
Wild.
43rd Street. And I'm running behind him on St. Patrick's Cathedral steps. And I have like 25 pictures of his back.
That's funny. I love that.
And now fast forward, I open Morrichet. I'm putting the wine away. I'm on a ladder. I'm answering the phones. I'm taking reservations. And the phone rings and says, hi, we want to come at 8 o'clock. Sorry, we don't have 8 o'clock. Can take you earlier? What is the name, please? Benson. Excuse me one moment. And I'm like... oh, we just had a cancellation. I can take you at 8 o'clock. So when he comes, I got my mother on one side. I got my girlfriend on the other side. That's in the book. So anyway, the bottom line is this. I'm fucking obsessed with this shit.
Yeah.
So even Mimi Sheridan, I talk about, because that was at 24 Fifth Avenue, she came on a Sunday. Frank Bruni in the movie, when he goes to the Cortone, I'm checking phone numbers because he used to make fake numbers even. So
you were at a Jets game.
I came back all the way from a Jets game.
You came from a Jets game?
Yeah, because he was there.
Because Bruni was there on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. I mean, Drew, this is like a real sport, and your Hall of Fame status when it comes to clocking critics and understanding the importance of the critic. And I really want to take us back to this era of the 80s because, like, it's some of our listeners, it's hard to fathom how important a Times review was, and really like not killing not just restaurants but like people's careers if you got a bad review.
Well, the 80s compared to today, it's like 9-day difference because, first of all, the Zagat survey,
Yeah, right.
I mean, was like one of the most powerful things. But that was a cockamamie system.
Sure was.
And, so.
Thumb on the scale, I would say.
What's that?
Thumb on the scale.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, like it's like a survey of random New Yorkers or whatever.
Well, first of all, I love Tim and Nina. But they don't know anything. What they know about restaurants is they go to restaurants.
Yeah.
It used to be a Xerox piece of paper.
Right.
I used to get it, at Café des Artistes when I mean, it's...
As a single sheet.
I was a manager at Tavern on the Green. I'd see what they passed out amongst friends.
Yeah.
But the power vested with basically three people. Gail Green at New York Magazine, the New York Times critic, whoever it was at the time, and Zagat, of course, they had the power. So it was kind of easy to say, I mean, you got to know something about these people and really understand it. Today, and I like Pete Wells quite a bit. I thought his reviews were pretty intelligent. But the point that when the pandemic hit and he stopped giving out stars, we all probably applauded that, restaurateurs.
Yeah.
But it destroyed because people are like sheep. They have to be told, this Smithereens gets 3 stars today. That's ridiculous because the restaurant has like 20 seats. Or I haven't been there, but it's like, and they don't have 3-star aspirations.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
I think Lagaya and Tejal, who have both appeared on the show, are figuring out the star system, right? And they're like putting their own stamp on it, as you should as a new critic.
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff about the influence of the critic, because I think you're right. After the pandemic, and then with the growth of social video, the actual restaurant review kind of has faded into obscurity in some ways.
It has a lot. Because people don't buy the newspaper anymore, or they maybe read these reviews on their handheld. The reviews come out a day earlier than they normally would. Like I read about the restaurant today.
Yeah.
It's a Tuesday. It comes out on a Wednesday. It just doesn't have the same
still,
pattern.
people, to your point, people need to be told where to go because they're not like us. They don't care about this stuff as much.
David Portnoy, he goes to pizza places.
Yeah.
And he says, no flop. I mean, he makes up shit about pizza.
One bite, you all know the rules.
And then he takes 3 bites, and then he's like 8.9 or and meanwhile, I grew up in New York. Pizza was a nickel.
Yeah.
When they raised it to 10 cents, it was like a disclaimer. The price of tomatoes and olive oil in Italy went up. I mean, I've never met a slice of pizza I didn't like. I love pizza.
Yeah.
But I mean, like now, I used to get really upset about this because we fight hard to get press. And they were giving equal press to tacos, pizza, hamburgers.
I mean,
and they still do. I mean,
it's. I want to continue the conversation media briefly, but I think that is interesting that you say that, because I think the great growth of food media has been moving out of the restaurants like the Montrachets of the world. But I see your point.
Well, we work so hard, even when you're young and you're earning experience, to get to a certain point where, you can flirt with a New York Times 3-star review. And if you get one, it's a rarefied club. But then I do hamburgers too. I mean, I'm 12 years at Madison Square Garden. But I'll tell you what, we could do a whole nother show about hamburgers, but that hamburger for 2,000 people a night for a nickel or Ranger game is damn good.
No,
and there's a reason it's damn good. I don't just mail things in.
No, it's obvious.
And a lot of people mail them in. Like the smash burger thing.
Yeah.
Think of the idea. Like, what food substance do you put on whatever cooking utensil and then smash it? I mean, what do you do then?
Yeah.
So that's for people who don't want a juicy, delicious hamburger. Yeah. So this is a charred piece of, charcoal,
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, I could go on.
The MSG burgers are great, and you've been doing it for 12 years. Last media question, Eater launches in 2005. I mean, and I love this era of food media. It's one of my favorites. This early Eater days when there's a real voice and some real snark, and it's not all good. But you're on Eater all the time. They're covering Drew, and they're kind of mean. They kind of love you in a way. I think Leventhal, clearly you and him had a thing that was kind of fun to follow.
Yeah.
What was it like when Eater launched and you started reading it obsessively, obviously, and becoming part of the narrative?
Well, I like all media, when you get good press or they're on your side, you defend it. It's the best. The second they screw with you, it's like, ah. So I used to see Ben, in Aspen. I was like, this fucking guy doesn't know anything. What is it? But they were controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
So in other words, like we want to tell our own story, but they're basically, and the worst
subversive.
Yeah. What was the thing when the place was like troubled? It was
Death Watch?
Close. That was, to me, that was like the most mean.
They regret Death Watch.
Yeah.
I think Ben wrote a post on Instagram for the 20th anniversary and was like, that was probably a mistake. Yeah. And like that was mean. They were mean, but that was the age of the internet, the era like Gawker was coming up to, and that was like, but like you became a personality and a celebrity in some ways.
On Eater?
In many ways. Yeah, like people who read Eater knew who you were, and maybe they knew the Nobu stuff, but like you were like there a lot.
I guess you're right. I really like Eater because I liked that, out of obscurity. I mean, most of people, when they open a restaurant, they have no money.
Yeah.
So they open a restaurant and then they get discovered. To me, that's the ultimate compliment. And then when you have something like Eater, which is promoting the restaurant, in a fun way. I think Ben just wrote something where I think I was like at the top of his list of remembrances of things that I pissed him off about or whatever it was. But no, I enjoyed that time. Look, Tribeca, now that I can look back on it, is probably the worst neighborhood you could set up in. But at one point, we were there with Morrissey. Chanterelle moved to where Junksick is now.
Yep.
They were in Tribeca. Boulay, several different restaurants.
Your restaurant opens up basically across the street.
Right, exactly. But the point is, now you're driving the bees to the honey. Like you're that good that people are going to spend money in a cab. Today, a cab will cost you $50 to come downtown, but back then it cost like $20, and it was expensive. And so we were driving the beast to the honey. I had Morrissey converted to Corton, converted to Batard. Each one 3 stars.
I know.
Sold it 2 years ago after 38 years, and they got 3 stars. So a premise, 40 years.
It's amazing.
3 stars. And right next door is Frenchette.
Yeah, it's an amazing run.
Amazing.
And retaining 3 stars for all of those restaurants.
Here's the key. This is what separates me from everybody else. It's like, look how big of this stupid. This was an invitation.
But this is an audio format, but just to be clear,
okay. I'm just showing you.
Yeah.
I mean, like
he's showing the family tree of the.
One time, Ed Bradley was interviewing Bob Dylan. And he says a question I think was like, how did you write these songs, or how did you come up with this? And Dylan's looking at him and he goes, I don't know. And I watched this and I was like, that's amazing that he admits that. But when you do something that is a real achievement, or that people appreciate.
Yeah.
And you do it over and over and over. Like it's not just one hit wonder. It's like many songs.
Yeah.
I did many restaurants. It's some like Coppola.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about The Godfather, but he just made Megalopolis.
Yeah.
Which everybody.
What's your review of that?
I watched it on the plane.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Are we giving it like a star?
Because he was my partner in Rubicon, I'm not going to really pass judgment. But I don't think I would have invested $120 million in myself on that one.
Okay, we can end the film critic talk.
The Conjuring: Last Rites on September 5th. The Conjuring: Last Rites, only in theaters September 5th. Rated R.
Now at Chipotle, our all-new Chipotle Honey Chicken brings Chipotle heat with a touch of sweet. Seared smoked peppers and savory Mexican spices, blended with a hint of pure honey for a perfectly balanced sauce. All combined with fresh, tender chicken hot off the grill, served up in your favorite burrito or bowl. New Chipotle Honey Chicken takes heat and sweet to a whole new level. But it's only at Chipotle for a limited time. Order now in the app for pickup or delivery. Chipotle, for real.
I think this is a great time to segue to Tribeca Grill.
Okay.
And this enters a different era for you. And you found Tribeca Grill with Robert De Niro, who is a customer at Montrachet. Take us to that time when you and De Niro are talking about this new Tribeca Cinema Center that he's opening.
Well, essentially what happened was, and De Niro used to do something that really pissed me off, which was this girl would make reservations. I didn't know this at the time, but she'd make reservations at 3 places. And so, like, you're doing the staff meeting. Robert De Niro's coming tonight. And so the staff is all jacked up, And then, like, 5 minutes before the reservation, I'm sorry, Bob has to cancel.
That's so...
Because he would choose which restaurant he's going to go to.
Can't do that with Resi now.
Good. I mean, that's a good, that's great. When I finally was in business with Bob and I saw this, I didn't realize what he was doing back then, but now I saw it. I said, you can't do that. That's really bad. So he comes into Montrachet one night. He had a girlfriend named Tookie Smith. She was a model. Willie Smith was a designer, Willie Ware. He died of AIDS, but he was a great customer of ours. But his sister and Bob were dating. And she goes like this. She goes, Bob wants to know if you want to open another restaurant in Tribeca. And I'm like, you talking to me? Because there's nobody else here. and I was like, it's Bob De Niro.
So Tookie's like the one who's actually the intermediary. I love it.
And she's like, like that, right?
Yeah,
she's sassy and everything.
Yeah.
So we walked up the block.
The 3 of you.
Yeah. So I'm standing in this burnt out former Martin's coffee place. It's huge. And I'm like, so Bob, what are you thinking about? And he goes, humma. It's like Jackie Gleason. I was like, and I'm like, so like La Coupole in Paris.
Oh.
Yeah, like La Coupole in Paris. So, I realized at that moment I would be able to do my thing.
Yeah.
Until the surrounding entourage of people, and Bob's
the De
not that
Niro
bad.
universe.
Bob has a lot of hangers about, but not as many as most celebrities do. But and it's in the book.
The accountant is the one who got in your way, right?
No, well, the accountant was at the end of the day. I won him over.
Well, clearly
he had this like I can't even call him a janitor, but he was on every project. So when we're building Tribeca Grill, because Bob had this. I give Bob the most credit I give him is that the building was perfect for what his idea was, which was to have floors of creative film people, offices of film people, casting directors or whatever. Yeah. Spielberg's still in the building.
Yeah,
and,
Spielberg's still up there.
And then a cantina on the ground floor, so they could eat. It's a great idea.
It's very like throwback to the Hollywood lot canteens.
There's just one problem. Okay, so he's like, "Oh, I have a chef you should meet." I said, "Who's that?" He says, "Nobu Matsuhisa." So Nobu's Japanese. We're not opening but even back then that wouldn't have been cool anyway. But so we're not going to open a Japanese restaurant. But I'm like, okay, Bob, fly him in. This does not come off. This newly released Nobu documentary, what comes off is like, I had some experience in the restaurant business, so I told Nobu, it's a no-brainer. We can open a restaurant anytime in New York. And then he didn't know me that well, and 3 years later, he called again, and now he's ready to do it. No, he wanted Nobu to be the chef at Tribeca Grill, which is bad casting.
Yeah.
Now, I'm the only one who knows that story, because it's me. So I'm like, okay, nice to meet you, and because maybe one day
we'll get to the good casting later when we talk about Nobu.
Right.
We'll continue.
So
with
he says, maybe
Grill.
one day I'll do a sushi bar with you. I saw the kinship. I saw the friendship. I made it happen. It's like Anyway, the point I'm trying to make to you is that when I die, on my tombstone, it's going to say Drew Nieporent, who brought Japanese food to America, because essentially Nobu is just an extraordinary achievement. Yeah. But anyway, we wound up hiring Don Pintabona, who had worked at the River Cafe under Charlie Palmer. His food was perfect.
Yeah.
We got a stellar 2-star write-up from the New York Times, which at that point was great.
You weren't reaching for 3. And what's the menu like?
No.
What's the menu like?
No, I'm the type of person that there was no 3-star aspiration there.
Yeah.
And we got like the greatest, and the last line is something like, this place is going to last for 100 years. And we did. And guess what? We wrote one review for 35 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the New York Times, they reviewed Montrachet every 2 years. Mm-hmm. I had 5 3-star reviews. Such when Amanda Hessler downgraded us oh my God, it was like death.
Yeah,
that was the death
that's up here.
knell.
We're bouncing back to the Montrachet story,
Yeah.
and like
No, I just wanted
you
to
take extreme umbrage with a temporary critic,
right interim. Yeah.
interim critic coming in and taking away those stars from Montrachet.
Well, I just found the article when she writes about Emeril Lagasse. And she slags him like nobody's business.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, that guy he made the TV Food Network.
Yeah.
I used to walk into rooms with Bobby Flay, and Emeril was there, and I go, "You're never going to be this guy." And he goes, "I know. What do I have to do to be?"
Yeah.
And then now he's like,
Yeah.
he's like 10 times more.
So back to
popular.
Tribeca Grill, though, you launched this menu from a chef who
American.
So it's like, what's the food like at Tribeca Grill when you open?
Well, the customers thought it was going to be Robert De Niro's restaurant.
Red
Therefore,
sauce.
and I don't even think we had pasta on the first menu.
Extremely smart move
one.
there, Drew. And you
Yeah.
write about in the book. I don't want to skip
Okay.
over this because like the instinct would be let Bob get his way, do the red sauce thing. But you
Right.
knew, as with your experience, that doesn't have a holding power.
No, I mean, listen, Robert De Niro, like when I would visit him in the building, his office, he has a bookshelf, all books on travel, food, no cookbooks, but so he knows good food because he eats good food.
Yeah.
But he never, ever, ever put pressure on me. The accountants that you were mentioning, they were like, Eddie Schoenfeld should do this.
Eddie
So-
Glasses, I love the reference.
Yeah. So, and meanwhile,
R.I.P.
anybody but Drew, anybody. But I proved my value, and
I think so.
And the whole thing was, you go from a 3-star restaurant Montrachet to this incredible 2-star restaurant Tribeca, and then I was getting offers left and right. I used to call it the deal of the day,
Yeah.
and I would say no until I saw like all these posers who were taking the gigs that I didn't say yes to. And so I formed Myriad Restaurant Group. Now, I did take the Harley Davidson Cafe, which is like 1 block from where Nobu is now.
Yeah.
And they've been showing recently the pictures of Trump with Epstein at that party, because the opening party of the Harley Davidson Cafe was like the greatest thing you've ever seen. With like O.J. Simpson was there, and Joe Frazier and Howard
These are
Stern
some
and
characters.
and I
man.
don't think I even talk about this in the book, by the way.
I don't think you do.
Because the whole point of my career, man, is that I've done so much. I fit so much in. That at one point I said to Jamie, I said, as we're writing the book, I said, so when are we gonna get together? She lives on the West Coast. Oh, we're done. I said, what do you mean we're done? No, you contracted 250 pages. I have 250 pages. So I was thinking to myself, so the process since then, it's like a year ago, every time I bump into somebody who like I had a professional relationship with, I'm like, oh my God,
You forgot them.
Well, they're not in the book for whatever.
Yeah.
And so many of my friends are like, well, I'm sure I'm going to be in the book. Like, I hate to break it.
I think there's
to
more
you.
stories. I think like this book will do well, and maybe you can do more.
I don't know.
I'm just going to ask you, what's Donald Trump like as a customer? He's been your customer, I'm sure, for many of these restaurants.
If we get into the Donald Trump thing right now,
I'm asking as a customer. I don't want to like go.
well, no, as a customer, he's just a steak and potatoes guy.
Well, give me a story. Trump
Well,
dining in Tribeca
The
Grill.
story in the book is a great story.
Yeah.
Because basically they told me, I met with Philip Johnson, who was the god,
Yeah.
the god of
The
architecture.
Four Seasons. He designs the building. Yeah.
But I went actually to a bookstore to buy a book on Philip Johnson because I wanted to be prepped when I had the interview, when I spoke with him. And I just tell this very briefly, but I go into his office, and he was like in his late 70s probably then. And
Healthy ego, I'm sure.
oh, he was very quiet.
He's a
very
cool
nice.
guy? All right.
But he goes, let me show you what I'm working on. And he proceeds to show me the ugliest renderings of like cave-like structures with little porthole windows. And he says, so what do you think? And I swear to God, I go like this. I go, well, Mr. Johnson, Central Park is right there. I would think you'd try to get the outdoor-indoor. And he looks at me, and this was priceless. He gives me a look, and he goes, maybe you're right. And he moves his papers over. He says, let's start working together. The next day they called me up, and they said, he loved you. He wants to work with you. There's just one problem. I said, what's the problem? He said, you're going to have to meet our partner, Donald Trump. Now, he only owns 5%. Have you ever heard this before? So when you meet Donald Trump, let it go in one ear and out the other. He only owns 5%. Fast forward, I meet Donald Trump, Hey, Drew. Oh, you're a downtown guy. This is uptown. This is not for you. Everybody wants this, so I'm letting it one ear out the other. He invites
He really
me.
doesn't want you on the project.
No, he just wants whoever's going to give him the most money because the end of the story is like I was just letting him talk because I have the deal. And he invites me to Mar-a-Lago, by the way, when I went. I saw Beverly Sills in a recital at Mar-a-Lago in a room of 12 people. And I had sleep apnea at the time. I was sleeping through the recital. But anyway, so I find out through my mother. My mother called me because New York Magazine said John George von der Rignan is going to do the Trump tower.
Oh, man.
And I called Phil Suarez, John George's business guy. And I said, Phil, tell me what you did. He goes, Drew, it was Donald Trump. I offered him $100,000. That's it. I made the deal.
Wow.
And it's like, and truthfully, I was going to do a restaurant with Michel Richard, who I would say is easily in the top 5 of the greatest food people that this country has ever seen.
Known mostly in L.A., right?
Yeah, mostly in L.A.
Yeah.
But his ideas, like one day I said to Michel, I go, because David Burke, I thought, was very talented.
You like Burke. You and Burke.
Well, when he was younger, he was unbelievable.
You have a real soft spot for Burke.
Well, we stayed very good friends.
Yeah, he's cool.
But he kind of hosed me too, by the way. But that's not in the book either. but one day, I said, Michelle, what do you think of David Burke's food? Because we had just eaten at River Cafe. He goes, I don't like Christmas trees on my plate.
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, I'm going to move us forward to Nobu because we haven't really gotten there yet.
Is this a 3-hour interview?
Well, no, we're going to keep
You're gonna edit it.
in our realm. I would love to do 3 hours.
No, I'm joking.
We should do a drive time 3-hour live. Maybe we'll do a live.
Well, we can do live.
Let's go live someday.
I think Andrew Friedman's going to do a live one.
Well, Andrew's great. He'll do a great job. So Nobu it opens in 94.
Right.
And it's really important to note, you write very clearly in the book, when you're working with Nobu, the chef who's coming from LA, the naming convention of the restaurant is up for debate. And you have a very strong vision to call it Nobu.
Oh, you see, in the movie, which you haven't seen.
I haven't seen the movie.
My Israeli partner, Mayor Tepper, he goes, I always wanted to call the restaurant Matsuisa. But Bob wanted to call it Nobu. Now,
you're like, that's not true.
Well, the camera's looking at Bob, and Bob's like he's got that quizzical look on his face that
the Nero face.
Well, he's got the shit-eating grin. Like, okay, that's a good story. I remember it like it was yesterday because he says it to me. It was always Nobu, by the way, always in my head.
Yeah,
and he says it to me. I said, Mayor, Matsuisa is an electronics company. Nobu's easy.
Yeah,
but you see, when you have partnerships, like. If something's a failure, they want to blame you. If something's a success, they don't want to anoint you. That's part of the story in a way, which is, you achieve a certain thing with your partners and with the chef. And the second you achieve that status, they want to go across the street. Boulay it was unbelievable. It was so hurtful.
Why is that with you? It seems to be a recurring theme. Is it? Are you too generous? I mean,
No. I don't think it's that heavy. I think it's. First of all, I can't see myself, so I'm not looking at myself. I watch interviews that I do, and I realize I'm insufferable.
You?
I don't even like watching myself, to be honest with you. I like myself a lot. I like myself, but watching myself, I realize I talk too much. But here's the thing.
You've been fine here, to be honest.
Thank you. With Boulay, for instance, I think they have to prove to themselves that they can do it on their own.
Yeah.
They don't need him. Paul Liebrandt, exactly the same. Marcus Glocker, I tried to sell him Batard.
Yeah.
The name of the book is I'm not trying to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
They were difficult, but I'm not trying to be difficult infers that they see me as difficult.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the way it is. In other words, they want to do their own thing without me to prove that they can do their own thing without me.
It's fair. The assessment's interesting.
Simple like that.
So you opened Nobu in 94, and it's obvious. It's a big moment in American gastronomy. The fact that you can take this style of Japanese cooking that is based in Los Angeles, but you bring it to New York, and it evolves beyond omakase sushi counter. with a lot of the cooked dishes, and you put in Tribeca, and you have this, celebrity ownership. There's something that happens here. It's like an alchemy moment.
Yes.
Describe it.
Okay, so when I'm about to do a restaurant, I feel it. I feel every element of it. And there was one point where I realized design, because I used to think you can just put a restaurant in an ugly place and it will work. Montrachet, because we didn't have that. It was a minimal. They used to call it minimal. I guess minimal was the design, but that wasn't what we did.
Some view is quite cool.
So I feel this thing, right? And I always talk about like how the stars line up. Like if you have celebrity ownership, that's a buzz. But at the end of the day, you have to have substance. The food has to be good. Service obviously has to be up to snuff. Okay. So I did two things at Nobu that were audacious and nobody would do. Number one, David Rockwell, tremendous, but he designs the sushi bar all the way in the back.
Yep.
So I come in and I go, it can't be all the way in the back. It's got to be right there. And there's two poles right.
You enter and it's there.
Yeah, and it's there. And he goes, well, that's the bar. I go, okay, so no bar. What do you mean no bar? I said, we don't need a bar. We had a service bar. It was a form of bank space in the vault. I couldn't take the vault door was so heavy. I left the vault door there, so the service bar was in the vault. Okay, that's number one. No bar, sushi bar right up front.
Yeah, it's the set piece of the space is the sushi bar.
Right,
revolutionary moment.
Right, and then the other thing, which nobody gives me credit for, which is okay. I studied the labor laws. And when you had a counter, people could leave tips to the people who worked at a counter. So it was a sushi counter. You're not allowed by law to split the gratuities that the guest leaves with the kitchen. And, you could theorize that sushi chefs are back of the house, their kitchen.
Yeah.
But they worked at a counter. That's how stupid.
These laws, yeah.
Right. Like David Chang once told me, I hate the customer, because he just, so he built the restaurant where there was like minimal interaction with waiters. But I'm sure at because it's a sushi counter, they split the gratuities. And I've read also at Masa, there were all sorts of lawsuits and stuff about the tips. But the fact that the sushi chefs at Nobu could share in the tip pool was part of the success. Why? If they weren't, the waiters would be making $700 a night. And the sushi chefs would be making nothing and be pissed off. Now they're part of it. There's a little more esprit de corps, better for morale.
Interesting.
And this,
no sandbagging for the sushi counter. They're happy to be working very hard.
They make tremendous money. And guess what? There's 56 Nobus around the world now. And there's only one that doesn't do that. And that's in Atlantic City. Why? Because the union there is that powerful.
Wow, interesting data there. So you write about these early years of Nobu, a lot of ups and some downs. I mean, you had a robbery. That was an interesting piece. Right. And then you got into a fight with De Niro. I want to know, what's it like working with De Niro on Nobu, and what's your relationship with De Niro now?
Well, I'm very cordial with him now. In fact, his birthday was 2 days ago.
Yeah. Where do you guys go?
No, he had, it was his 82nd.
Yeah.
He had a big party. Actually, I met Paul McCartney at the 80th.
Oh, cool.
And that was a star-studded event, which was right next door to Tribeca Grill at La Conda Verde at the hotel, Greenwich Hotel. Look, he's complicated. One of the greatest actors of our generation. It's been an honor. And I would say pretty much he's left me alone. But, the thing with Nobu is he was influenced by perhaps maybe another partner. And it's in the book. I tell the truth of the whole story. But I survived it. Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you're married to somebody and they don't love you anymore, but you love them, they want a divorce, you're going to have to get a divorce. In my case, not only did I maintain partnership for 35 years, which is half my lifetime with Robert De Niro at Tribeca Grill, And even today, and he's had a number of passages in terms of different people in his life and restaurant partnerships without me. He knows deep down what I provided.
Yeah.
And, I had my 70th birthday a couple months ago, June 4th, and he came to my birthday party, which I'd invited him, but he didn't respond. But he just showed up at the end, which was, for my guests there, where it was a kick in the ass. But
yeah, that's nice, though.
So, no,
it's a nice sentiment that,
tremendous.
because I the book doesn't quite articulate that, and that's fine. I just think it's...
the book ended a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
The life goes on. But here's the point I'm going to make. When you have the fame, celebrity, the notoriety that he has, and we see it now in the politics of this country, if you want to be a bully, you can be a bully. Because there's, you can minimalize everybody's, or push them out of the way, or whatever, however you want to characterize it. I hope the book puts forth that I survive, that I wasn't in the restaurant business to squeeze out the last dollar. I was in the restaurant business to be creative, and I was.
Yeah.
And I did a Mexican restaurant, a Vietnamese restaurant, an American restaurant, a French restaurant, and
40 of them.
40 of them. And when it's over, it's over.
Well, I'm going to leave it there, Drew. Here's what we're going to do. We're recording this in August. I'm going to have you back.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm hoping we can do that near the end of the year, and we're going to run it near the end of the year. And what we're going to do then is talk about Rubicon, Tracy Desjardins. We're going to talk about Corton more. We're going to talk about ending Batard. And honestly, I have so many more questions for you.
Thank you.
So rarely do I say this, but we're going to have a part 2.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, and life's too short to have a bad meal. So let's. You have to join me one day at Nova for some Yalta jalapeno.
Yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of meals at Nobu, and the food is exceptional. It's a great restaurant.
And I found through your Instagram the Dookie Kong coincidence that you did his book.
Yeah,
right?
Dookie Hong and I worked at your restaurant, Centrico, when he was 15.
Unbelievable.
So we can talk about Ron Sanchez. And
there's a lot of amazing people that
you have a family
went through
tree.
my place. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Tremendous.
So we'll talk about Family Tree. I think part 2 we'll talk about Family Tree.
Okay,
There's so many great people to talk about. Thank you so much for joining this Taste.
Thank you very much.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanal and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.